Hey, welcome into the Top 5 Tuesday edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. That's Wade Neely. I'm Maurice Patton. We'll be here with you for the next couple of hours talking local, regional, and national sports topics, and excited to do so. Wade, happy Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday, Mo. Good to be with you. Good to be with everybody. A big show today. And yeah, I am pumped. We are off and running into the month of July here. And it was kind of like June, wet.
Yeah, it's not wet here yet, but it's certainly headed in this direction. I mean, all you got to do is look outside and pretty well figure it out. Yeah, it's going to be a fun day, but we're going to stay inside and stay dry. And in the next hour, we'll be joined by the Blue Raider voice, the pride of the dimple, Chip Walters, talking all things MTSU with us at the top of hour number 2. Always fun to catch up with Chip. Looking forward to that. In the next segment, we will be joined by Drew Hill of the Daily Memphian. Man, it's been busy down in Memphis from a basketball standpoint from the last 24 hours or so. Yesterday, we told you about former Tennessee State men's basketball coach Penny Collins joining the staff of Thomas Isalo. Well, that wasn't all they've done. We'll get into all of that with Drew, including Coach Penny's addition to the staff here in the next segment. So looking forward to catching up with him. It's been a while since we've had a chance to visit with Drew, but he's been pretty busy, and certainly here in the last day or so it looks like, as free agency has opened across the NBA. So again, looking forward to speaking to him. We'll also talk a little Major League Baseball. After our teams were off yesterday, they get cranked back up today. So we'll talk a little Braves, a little Astros, and whatever else comes up. Little college basketball, little professional basketball. Again, women's as well as guys on the pro side. Wimbledon continues, which means upsets continue. We'll be checking in on that as well. And interesting NFL move that we're going to get into when we dive into the grab bag in the second hour. Little unexpected, but I guess kind of the fallout from a trade that took place yesterday. Looking forward to delving into that a little bit later in the show. And it is Top 5 Tuesday. Wade and I will finish up the show by giving you what we feel like are the most unbreakable records in sports. Should be fun. There's a pretty of them out there, and I'm looking forward to getting into that here as we go into the show. So again, big day, big show. Been a little rushed due to some technical issues, but glad to be here. Um, Wade, about the time we went on the air yesterday, you posted something on your Facebook of a personal nature, and
Yeah.
as a cat guy, how is your situation coming along?
We're making inroads thanks to the power of social media. And yeah, we'll pop the seal on it. I have to rehome my two beloved cats. When the Main Street news came down last month, my time in Pulaski came to an end, and as a result, I had to rush and move out of the spot there. And we're desperately seeking a home for my two beloved felines, as our beloved dog in Nashville has had incidents with the cats. So that is not in the cards, unfortunately. But yeah, hopefully spreading some wings. They're safe and sound with the parents back in P-Town for now, and kind of a wild and wacky, not to tease tomorrow already, but a wild and wacky last 30 days as we kind of scoot out of town in a rush and find hopefully a new home for the felines.
Well, I certainly hope you do, and I reposted that myself
Yeah.
because I mean, again, I'm a cat guy, and if anybody can help Wade and his cats, man, because they are adorable. One looks a lot like one that I lost about a year ago, and so I'm especially torn up over the whole situation. But hopefully we can get that rectified and get them into a new happy home where folks will take care of them almost as well as Wade.
Yeah, we'll do the
Not quite.
best. Yeah, you never know. They may benefit from a change of scenery, knowing me. But yeah, they were a great part of the life, and man, I wish they could have made the move up here, but it would have been a sad situation if something did happen. So they're on a couple lists for some great foster places in and around southern Middle Tennessee as well. So we're stretching far and wide to find a new home for the little critters there.
Well, wishing y'all the best in resolving that situation. Absolutely. So, again, if y'all can help, hit us up. Because we do like our cats on this show. So, with that said, let's go ahead and get things started, Wade, with yesterday's result, singular, and today's schedule on the rundown.
This is the Rundown.
Lock and load, boys and girls. It is time for the Tuesday rundown. And there was an MLB game last night. It did involve a fan of a Main Street media entity. Mr. Blaine Killer's Texas Rangers fell to the Baltimore Orioles last night. 10-6 was your final. And just because I love you guys, and just because we had Valaire on the show yesterday, we did have two Club World Cup knockout round results as Fluminense defeated Inter Milan in a match that was played at the Bank of America Stadium over in Charlotte. 2-0 was your final there. But the massive stunner was Saudi Arabian club Al Hilal defeats Manchester City. Down go the Giants, Mo, in extra time. One of the wildest games that you could imagine, as Al Hilal, the tiny little club. Yeah, they're from Saudi Arabia. Yeah, they got more money than a lot of countries do just as a club. But they beat one of the all-time best, one of the world powers in Man City. So a couple bonus results for you guys yesterday.
Wade, I don't think that you were the least bit dismayed in relaying that result either.
I mean, yeah, anytime Man City goes down, everybody kind of wins. Just like the Yankees, everybody across the world kind of rejoiced. And, one of the greatest, we'll get producer Mark to run the clip later. There was already a GIF Hall of Fame contender for an Al Hilal fan as they went ahead and scored yesterday. This is one that will live on the internet forever. And with that being said, you don't usually think of Saudi Arabia and feel-good stories in a lot of capacities, but this was one yesterday, one for the Gipper, one for the little guys, as it were, in this sense.
David beats Goliath, film at 11. There we go. Today's Major League Baseball schedule, the Los Angeles Angels come into Truist Park, taking on the Atlanta Braves. That is a 6:15 start. You can see it on FanDuel Sports. At 7:40, Houston begins a 3-game series out in Denver against the Colorado Rockies. And in WNBA action tonight, you can see it on Amazon at 7 o'clock. It's the Commissioner's Cup championship matchup with the Indiana Fever traveling to the Minnesota Lynx. We'll get you more on that later in the show. Stay tuned. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our rundown. Top story, meanwhile, is brought to you, as always, by the fine folks at Piggly Wiggly in Neely's Mill in Columbia. Be sure and check out their delicious daily deli lunch options available from 11 a.m. until 6 p.m. Also, their hand-cut meats, and everything is cost plus 10% at the cash register. Piggly Wiggly, Neely's Mill, Columbia, bringing you our top story. Camille Pierre was a honorable mention All-America performer as a sophomore this past season over at Vanderbilt. Averaged 20.4 points, 9.6 rebounds. That's nearly a double-double, y'all. 2 assists and 3 steals per game. She and Michaela Blakes were the only 2 NCAA Division I teammates to each average 20-plus points a game. The Condor women just lost one of those 20-point performers. Camille Pierre and the Commodores have parted ways. Some have termed it a dismissal. Shay Ralph is not. Camille is a great player, and I have no doubt she will have success in the future. Ultimately, it was determined it would be best for Camille and our program to go in different directions. We wish her the best of luck. So again, it is being reported by some media outlets as a dismissal. I don't know. That's what they said. But at any rate, Pierre won't be back on West End this fall. And that's a heck of a loss for a team that made the NCAA tournament this past year. And certainly she was a big part of that.
Yeah, big loss for Vanderbilt. Second straight day we've led the show off with a kind of a seismic story for a team here in Nashville, a college basketball team at that. So, man.
In June, July.
Right when you're used to hearing this news. And you're right. I mean, the timing of it is odd, just as yesterday's top story was, because, the portal is kind of closed, and that's, who really knows? And I mean, who really, in a sense, it doesn't matter what the rationale is. It sounds like she's not going to be coming back. And you're exactly right. That is a massive blow for Vanderbilt, who felt like they were on the come up, felt like they had a lot to be excited about. Certainly her and Blake's kind of being in a 1-2 tandem there. Who knows how far you could ride those two, but they certainly did some great things last year. So that's kind of an interesting story, and that certainly will send some shockwaves across, not just the SEC, but really across the country in terms of women's basketball.
Absolutely. There is an article on SB Nation, Mitchell Northam at Primetime Mitch on Twitter/X, that basically intimates that this might be NIL related. She talked about, or it was talked about, that Pierre was going into the portal at the end of the season, ultimately did not. And again, you wonder what took place. You mentioned the portal. It closed in late April. It's going to be interesting to see how she gets somewhere and how she gets on the floor for this coming season, or if she's got 2 seasons of eligibility left. Again, there is some conjecture that there was disagreement between her camp and the program regarding compensation, and with the house settlement looming out there, that kind of impacts that a little bit more, perhaps. So who knows? And again, the bigger question is, where does she get for next year to get on the floor?
Yeah, that is going to be, obviously there will be a number of schools that would be beating down the doors trying to vie for her services. How does that play out? Does it play out at the Division I level? This is going to be a kind of an interesting situation. Again, it kind of goes back to the timing, just like you mentioned. If this was a couple of weeks ago, and she even kind of made a post. There was some rumors swirling, but she made a post back in early April saying, that she's going to be at Vanderbilt. And something obviously has changed. What that is, we kind of don't know at this time. Who knows if we will really know the full story. But the fact remains, that's a key loss for Vanderbilt. And if someone can procure her services for next year, that'll be a massive get for somebody, especially this late in the game. If you're able to bring a player of that caliber in, that's kind of like finding gold at the last minute right there.
No doubt. Yeah. Again, this article by Mitchell Northam on SB Nation mentions NC State and BYU as a couple of potential options. NC State seems to have an opening at her position at the 4 with the graduation of Madison Hayes, and went after some folks in the portal that they weren't able to land at that spot. Also, BYU, Pierre's high school coach, is now on staff there as an assistant, and her AAU coach is an assistant at Pepperdine. So don't know if any of those are options for her, but it seems that if she just goes and enrolls at a school, then the transfer portal is taken out of the equation. She could enroll at school, walk on in women's basketball, and go from there. So, or she can apply for a waiver from the NCAA.
NCAA's got so much going on right now, they might just sign that and not even look at it and just say, yeah, sure, why not?
Go. Just go.
We'll let you. You mentioned BYU too. If NIL is any sort of factor in this equation, BYU is going to be in the mix. We've discussed them and them ponying up in both men's basketball and football the last couple of weeks. So wouldn't be shocked if that happens. And then you mentioned the coaching connection as well.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. But I mean, that's a tough loss. However, it came about for Vanderbilt again. She was sensational to watch. Had a 42-point game last December, 17 double-doubles, the most in this millennium by a Commodore woman. So, and if you remember, I mean, Shea Ralph was really strong at the end of the regular season in her support of Pierre when she was not named an All-Southeastern Conference first or second teamer. So, things went off the rails pretty quickly, sounds like, and you hate to hear it.
Yeah, and we discussed it during the season, toward the end of the season, and a little bit at the beginning of the offseason. If Vanderbilt could keep both of them back on their roster for next year, they seem to be in really good shape. Didn't know how that was going to play out, didn't know how it would pan out, and it seems like one at least has departed. Felt like you were maybe in the clear until about 24 hours ago, and then it seems like that has slipped apart.
That's tough. It's a tough break for the Commodores. We'll be keeping an eye on how that develops. Let's take a break here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, as we continue on Top 5 Tuesday. When we come back, we'll be joined by Drew Hill of the Daily Memphian talking a little Grizzlies basketball. Stick around.
Deep in a forest at Nashville Zoo, new creatures here for you to view. Phantoms graced in black and white swing high in trees of dappled light. In rocky crags, tall and steep, small antelopes with nimble feet. A wise old man with beard of white, a sentry perched on stony height. Amidst it all, a hunter lies, with coat of gold and steely eyes. A new adventure just for you. Leopard Forest at Nashville Zoo. Open now.
Busy bee, yeah, busy bee. If you need
Hold on, y'all, hold on. I need to make a call. Hey, this is Brianna with Busy Bee. I'm giving you a call to let you know your technician is on his way.
3-3.
Oh, busy bee. Guys, not yet. Not yet.
Busy bee, oh,
Now
busy
I'm ready,
bee.
guys.
Call 775-7833.
Custom Stone Handlers supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with Riverstone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe the measure of any person or company is how you treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStoneHandlers.com.
Top 5 Tuesday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. That's Wade Neely. I'm Maurice Patton. Joining us now from the Bluff City, Drew Hill of the Daily Memphian. Drew, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, you guys. How are you?
What's up?
Hey, doing well, thanks. Hey, we got news yesterday that a longtime Tennessee State men's basketball joining the staff of Thomas Isalo and the Memphis Grizzlies. And as it turns out, that was just the start of off-season business for the Grizzlies, sounds like.
Yeah, so Brian Collins, obviously, a good addition to the staff here. A guy that played internationally with Tomas Isolo, and I think that connection paid dividends there. And so now, they've brought him in to be a player development coach this year. And then free agency was crazy, man. It was the first hour and 8 minutes of free agency. Shams from ESPN tweeted 8 different times about the Memphis Grizzlies. So I think they had their plan together. A lot of it pretty unsurprising if you follow the team closely, but obviously a lot of good news for the Memphis Grizzlies for sure.
One, Drew, we're glad to have you on so that you can straighten us out on the pronunciation of the new coach's name, Isolo.
I still struggle with it. Tomas Isolo. E as in the letter. Yes.
Well, and the thing about it is those 2 I's right at the start really kind of throw you. So
they do. It took me a long time. I've had to ask him several times how to pronounce his name.
You might just have to tape it one time, and so you can like play it back or something. But yeah, it's not Smith and it's not Jenkins either. You talk about the free agency flurry there, and I mean, you knew they were going to do something, but one, did you expect this much? And two, did you expect it this quickly?
Yes and no. I think that we did expect that the deal was going to get done with Jaren Jackson for renegotiate and extend. That was something that had popped up dating all the way back to when the team traded Marcus Smart, because that was a trade that sort of enabled them to be able to do something like this. So that I don't think came as much of a surprise. The Grizzlies made Jaren a priority. Jaren talked about how much he wants to be in Memphis, and so naturally it made sense that they were going to get a deal done there. And then with Santi Aldama, it was the same sort of thing. You wondered if another team might come in restricted free agency and drop a big number, and that might be enough to where the Grizzlies wouldn't match. But I think given the way that the rest of free agency shook out, it made sense that the Grizzlies were going to be able to get a deal done for him as well. And he also wanted to be back in Memphis. And, 7-footers that can pass, dribble, and shoot don't come along all that often. And so for Memphis, that's what they ended up doing. The only thing that came as maybe a slight surprise was that the Grizzlies were able to sign Ty Jerome to the 3-year contract, player option at the end. They were limited to $8.8 million per year, the room exception, opposed to the mid-level exception, which is $14.1 million per year, because in the navigation for the Jaren extension, they had to go below the salary cap. That limited what they were going to be able to spend. Nobody thought Ty Jerome was going to take $8.8 million a year. Everyone thought he was going to get closer to that 14. Yet here he is in Memphis, and I think some of that probably had to do with more than money. I think there's ample basketball opportunity for him on this team.
Did the Grizzlies tag Stephen A. Smith in these transaction tweets?
No, I didn't see them tag Stephen A. Smith, but that has been a big-time topic around here, as you can imagine. And now we're just waiting on Stephen A.'s arrival, right? Mayor Paul Young offered up the chance for Stephen A. to come experience Memphis, and I encourage everyone to come experience Memphis. But now we're just waiting. The ball is in Stephen A.'s court. We will see what he does with it.
Well, I just, the fact that you mentioned with all three of those guys, they want it to be in Memphis, and that goes counter to everything that the infamous ESPN personality has said regarding Memphis here over the last little bit. So, I didn't know if their social media was having some fun with that or what, but it was just wild to hear all of that. But you can't keep everybody, I guess. Luke Kennard goes to Atlanta on a 1-year deal.
Yeah, Luke, it felt like, was on the way out towards the end of last year, not because they didn't like him, but just because the need for shooting specialists had really sort of decreased. The Grizzlies were looking for a guard that was going to be able to handle some of the ball handling duties. And so, Luke signed that 1-year deal to be with the Grizzlies last season. Once that was up, it felt like it was kind of just a placeholder for the team to move on. So now Luke Kennard gets a new home in Atlanta, gets a pretty big contract for his production level last year, $11 million. Luke's been one of my favorite players to cover in all my time in Memphis. He's just a phenomenal person to be around. So I think I'm happy for him for sure, and I know lots of other people in Memphis are happy for him. He represented the city well. He did a lot for St. Jude here, and so it's a little sad to see him go, but it was something that was probably expected.
Drew, wanted to ask you a couple quick ones about the signing of Ty Jerome. Seemed like a shrewd bit of business from Memphis, but it also was kind of odd in the sense that this was a guy that a lot of folks had maybe coveted or speculated when he was coming out of Virginia, and now we find ourselves a couple years later kind of in a sense bringing him back home in that regard, it felt like yesterday.
Yeah, so Ty Jerome, as I mentioned, I don't think anybody saw him signing for $8.8 million. And now he's an addition for the Grizzlies that really is supposed to probably cover up some of what they lost when they traded Desmond Bane to Orlando. And we all know that the Grizzlies are like a big-time analytics team. Like, if we're going to talk about the movie Moneyball, like, that's kind of the way that the Grizzlies operate in their front office. Like, they pay attention to the advanced stats like Darko and LeBron and some of those high-level basketball type stuff. And Ty Jerome, at a lesser volume, in just one season, so a smaller sample size, posted a lot of numbers in this that were really close to what Desmond Bane did well, or his areas of success. Ty Jerome, from a true shooting percentage in floor spacing opportunities, shot better than Desmond Bane did last year. Ty Jerome, in creation opportunities, was more efficient than Desmond Bane was last year. Defensively, he's not as good of a player as Desmond Bane. Rebounding-wise, he's not as good of a player as Desmond Bane. But he's a more sure player on the ball in terms of passing and setting up his teammates. The NBA will track things like potential assists, and his numbers exceeded what Desmond Bane was able to accumulate as a point guard last year. So I think Ty Jerome's fit is actually extremely clean with this team, and it made a lot of sense to bring a player like him in. And the real question with him is, was this just a blip or was this a true breakout? Because if this was a true breakout and he's able to bring that level of production that he did in Cleveland to Memphis, the Grizzlies just struck gold, and they just got a massive steal in free agency.
I'm with you there.
We'll see what happens.
I'm with you there, Drew. And you mentioned his defense a minute ago, and that's the only real question mark that I kind of have is how much of a concern is his defense, and is that something that maybe can still be coached up or worked up in your mind?
I think there are just physical limitations to Ty Jerome's game. So I don't know how much they're going to be able to coach him up. I do know that he does one thing really well that the Grizzlies struggled with defensively last year, and that's get in passing lanes and generate steals and deflections. He actually is top 90% of NBA guards in steals and deflections per 100 possessions. So, I think the Grizzlies, a team that wants to play in transition, a team that wants to play fast, that will play to their benefit a little bit. But the defensive questions are absolutely fair to ask. And I think that when you look at this team and the way that it was structured, maybe it was a little bit of a surprise that they went for a backcourt addition instead of someone in the front court. They know that Zach Edey's going to miss time to start the season after ankle surgery. They know that they already have players in the front court that are more skilled players and not necessarily physically imposing. And so they had a chance to go out and add a physically imposing big with this room exception, with that $8.8 million a year. And they didn't do it. Instead, they chose talent. They said, you know what? We've retooled around Ja and Jaren. We're thinking about the next 2 to 3 years. We're not thinking that we're going to be good enough to compete with OKC if we just add another bruiser to our front court. It was a path of patience. It was a choice that I think raised some eyebrows for some Grizzlies fans who want them to be as competitive as possible right now. But it feels like the Grizzlies, while not doing a full rebuild, more of a retool or restructure here, They're just trying to add the best players they possibly can, and that's why they added Ty Jerome, despite his defensive limitations, and despite the fact that they still need a front court big to come in and help with the rotation next year.
With that being said, yeah, go ahead, Mo.
I was just going to ask, what direction do you think they might go in for that front court big?
They might not at this point. They may say, look, we've done our work this offseason. We're going to clap our hands and be done with this. And I think that actually is a real possibility. Again, I don't think the Grizzlies are worried about the first 2 months of the regular season next year. I think the Grizzlies are worried about trying to get this team positioned for the highest end outcome possible. It's why you saw them trade up in the NBA draft and take a player like Cedric Coward at the number 11 pick, somebody who's a relative mystery. Because you could go trade for a veteran wing, but even if you go do that, the chances that you're going to add a future all-star are slim to none in taking that pathway. If you trade up in the draft and you take a player who's a relative unknown with a much higher ceiling, your team might hit a higher ceiling as a result of adding more players. So what the Grizzlies did was they took the Bain contract, they split it into different pieces. They said, look, we need more, a higher quantity of quality players. And they, in turn, also got younger as they did that. They said, look, that gives us the highest end outcome possibility. And I think they were right in that assumption. So are they worried about the first 2 months of the regular season? Or I'm saying 2 months. We don't know for sure how long Zach Edey's going to be out. But are they worried about that? And to the point where they feel like they need to go out and make another trade or sign another big? I don't necessarily think so. They could always add a big on a minimum contract. There's a few names out there still. Larry Nance, I don't think has been signed. Charles Bassey, I don't think has been signed. Precious Achiuwa, former Memphis Tiger, I don't think he's been signed yet. So, maybe you do something where you sign one of those guys to a minimum contract and you waive another player. It could be Jay Huff or someone else. But I don't think they feel the pressure or the need to force anything through at this point.
Drew Hill of the Daily Memphian joining us here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, talking a little Memphis Grizzlies basketball. And, let's expand it out across the NBA, because it wasn't just Memphis that was busy here over the last 24 hours or so, Drew. Atlanta, we talked about Kennard going down there. They also got Nickeil Alexander Walker, who last we saw was with the Timberwolves. What is Atlanta doing? I mean, are they finally deciding to put some folks around Trae Young or what?
I think they're trying. I like what Atlanta did in the draft, because Atlanta now has a New Orleans pick, a future New Orleans pick in this draft. And New Orleans has the potential to be bad. And if you go look at the 2026 prospects, the word is around the league that there could be 3 to 5 superstar level talents coming out in the NBA draft next year. So I think these picks are going to be incredibly coveted, especially the lottery picks. And so I think Atlanta's done a really good job of setting themselves up to be a little bit better this year, with the potential to get a lot better a year after that. Ricochet had a decent rookie season. I don't love Trae Young personally as a player. I don't know if he is a high level enough superstar to take you really deep into the playoffs, but I think that they have the potential now to, as I just mentioned before, be like Indiana, be like Oklahoma City, and put a high number of quality players on the floor over the course of a game. And you don't have to have the highest of highest level superstars in order to compete. We figured out in the Eastern Conference in the playoffs. So I like Atlanta's offseason a lot, and I think that pick next year, we might be looking back at that saying that's a really big deal, and what the heck was New Orleans thinking?
Porzingis doesn't hurt any either, right?
No, definitely not. And let's be honest, that's a roll of the dice for Atlanta, right? He was dealing with the illness a lot towards the end of the season for Boston, didn't really look like himself. So maybe he comes in and he's just a 1-year rental and he looks great and he really helps you out, or maybe he shows he can be a piece for the future. So I like what Atlanta did a lot in the offseason.
Drew, speaking of the draft and speaking, I guess, going back to the Grizzlies, man, me personally, I loved what they did in the draft, but I'm curious, give me your thoughts and tell us a little bit about why one of the 3 draft picks can cook, literally.
Yeah. So Cedric Howard is what was the number 11 pick in the draft, a guy who played Division III basketball before he reached the Division I level. He really exploded onto the scene and flashed a lot, to the point where Duke was getting ready to take him as a transfer. So if John Shire knows the scouting report, you knew the Grizzlies were going to know the scouting report on the guy. And they really fell in love with him. Apparently his Monday workout went incredibly well just 2 days before the draft. And they end up taking a chance on a player who's 6'6" with a 7'2" wingspan and shoots 40% from 3. This is a pick that they think has the potential to be incredibly good. This is not something they would say, but I liken it a little bit to Jalen Williams in Oklahoma City, who is also a little bit more of a mystery because he hadn't played high-level college basketball coming out of the draft, but had similar physical measurements and tools and a good shooting profile the way Coward does. But what I love about Cedric Coward, you asked about the cooking. He is still that Division III kid at heart, and you can tell. He used to cook for his team back when he was even at Eastern Washington. I asked his old Washington State and Eastern Washington coach, Coach Riley, what would the memory be of Cedric and his time with him in college. And he said, it's not anything he did on the court. It's honestly probably him cooking tacos in the kitchen with my wife for the whole team. And Cedric had a nicer kitchen than the coach at Eastern Washington. So the team used to go have team gatherings at his apartment, and he would cook up chicken wings for everybody and do that. But Cedric is really still a kid at heart, and it just is so infectious to see how excited he gets for all of these different opportunities. He was so excited to see himself on the Jumbotron inside of FedEx Forum with the Welcome Cedric Coward message. And my favorite detail was after the introductory press conference was over, they hand all the players the jerseys so that they can all hold them up and take the photographs. And when they handed Cedric Coward the jersey with his name and number on it, he started feeling the lettering on the back. He's like, oh my gosh, it's stitched on here. Mom, look, the numbers and the names are stitched on here. And he had never seen a jersey with that level of quality before. And so, yeah, it's really cool to let people to watch people, really realize their dreams. And it's even cooler when it's the little details that make it feel real. And Cedric Coward is definitely going to be, in my opinion, knowing his interview skills, I think he's going to likely become one of the fan favorites here in Memphis.
I saw an article on him a couple of days before the draft, Drew, and just the thought of somebody ascending from Division III to a first-round draft pick, it's really kind of hard to grasp in this day and time.
The Grizzlies are running it back because they drafted a former Division II player last year in Jalen Wells, who ended up at Washington State.
Washington State on the come-up with the Grizzlies.
Yeah, I know. They got the Washington State pipeline secured for sure to the NBA draft. But no, it's an awesome story. And Cedric didn't get recruited out of high school. He was a big. He didn't get asked to do hardly anything. He never shot the ball. He stood under the basket, tried to block shots and get rebounds. He gets, I also talked to his former Division III coach who said, when they realized, because he went to a really high-level academic institution in Oregon for Division III school, and they said once they saw his grade point average and realized he was an athlete that had, I believe, a mother or grandmother that was an Olympic track runner. Someone in his family went to the Olympics. I can't remember right
Grandfather, now. I think it was.
Grandfather who was in the Olympics. Once they realized the athleticism and the grade point average, they said, how do we burn this kid's tape? How can we get that? How can we make sure we hide this kid from the rest of the world? And it worked out.
Yeah. Drew, we were talking about the East a second ago, and um, Milwaukee is an interesting situation. Bringing in Miles Turner as a free agent, releasing Damian Lillard, who, you know, you don't know when you're going to get him back with that Achilles situation anyway. But I don't necessarily know that that was the expectation across the league that the Bucks would go in that direction.
Yeah, that is a wild development to waive and stretch Damian Lillard over 5 seasons. Um, I've been asked about this a couple of different times today by different people, and most of them Grizzlies fans. And I try to explain it as just like imagine you have Marcus Smart, who's not able to be on the court, permanently stuck on your roster for 5 straight seasons, just dead money. That's essentially what the Milwaukee Bucks now have for the next 5 seasons: $20+ million of dead money. If I was Giannis, I wouldn't be happy either. It's going to be a lot harder to build that roster now. And if you're Milwaukee, you have to sit there and wonder, like, at what point do you just take all the picks back for a guy like Giannis? Because if you're already that limited in the way you're going to build your roster moving forward, you might as well play for 5 years down the line when you know those limitations are going to come off. So I think that this is going to really trigger, more chatter in terms of Giannis movement than before. And I don't know anything about the Bucks. I don't have any inside information on Milwaukee, but I can just tell you, if I was in Giannis's shoes, and trust me, I would never be in Giannis's shoes, but if I was, I would not be happy at the fact that they're going to have a $20 million hole in their roster for 5 straight seasons as a result of this.
Yikes. Drew Hill of the Daily Memphian joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, talking little Memphis Grizzlies and NBA. One last note before we get out of here, Drew. Looks like the Knicks talked to Dawn Staley, were impressed by Dawn Staley, but are focusing elsewhere on a replacement for Tom Thibodeau. What are the Knicks doing? And I think that's been the question for about a month now?
Yeah, I was surprised they let Thibodeau go just because it felt like that team did have an identity, and they were really close to getting to the NBA Finals. The talent level on that team is to the point where in the Eastern Conference you feel like they could reach the NBA Finals. So I was just surprised that they made the move in general to fire Tom. And he also, the thing about Thibodeau is he has the tendency to wear down on some of the players. So I wonder if that was part of this equation, was just that they had felt like, he had sort of run his course emotionally and they needed to get a different type of coach in. I've been interested in these names that have come up in the Knicks coaching search. Like, naturally people started asking about Mike Malone. Mike Malone has the same type of personality and demeanor as Tom Thibodeau. I never saw that working. Then they asked about Taylor Jenkins. Well, Taylor Jenkins is like almost too far in the opposite to where, I think Taylor Jenkins is a great coach, but I wonder how he would do in New York City. So to me, not a ton of these hires have ended up making a ton of sense. Dawn Staley probably makes more sense than either of those two, if I'm being honest. And I'm not surprised they interviewed her, because obviously she's an incredible coach that's absolutely crushing it at South Carolina. At the same time, she might have one of the best jobs in college sports. So, it would be pretty hard for her, I think, to pack up and leave. But what the Knicks coaching search has been one of the most interesting things this offseason for sure. And in the end, I think they probably end up hiring Mike Brown, right? Like, that's kind of what everybody thinks, but we'll see what happens.
Drew, we appreciate you spending some time with us this afternoon and look forward to catching up with you again soon, man. Thank you.
Yep. Thanks, guys. See ya.
Good stuff. Thank you, Drew.
That was Drew Hill from the Daily Memphian helping us through some Grizzlies and NBA talk. Let's take a break here on Main Street Sports today, presented by TOA of Columbia. When we come back, we'll get into a little baseball. Stick around.
If you want the latest in weather conditions, be sure to tune in to our Busy Bee Plumbing Weather Report each weekday on Mornings on Main Street. Brought to you, of course, by Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning. We will keep you updated on the latest conditions outside, like severe weather, heat, snow, rain, and even hail.
Zion Christian Academy at zioneagles.org or 931-388-7531. You can schedule your appointment to visit their beautiful campus. Again, zioneagles.org or 931-7531 to schedule your visit today.
First 2011, Jair Jurgens threw a complete game one-hit shutout, striking out 8 as the Atlanta Braves blanked Baltimore 4-0. Jurgens improved to 11-3 with the win, lowering his National League leading earned run average to 1.89, keeping himself in contention to start the All-Star game on July 12th. Adam Jones singled with 1 out in the 7th to break up the right-hander's no-hit bid, while future Brave Nick Markakis went 0 for 4. Jason Hayward's 2-run homer in the 6th turned out to be all the offense Jurgens would need. That was this day in Braves history. Jurgens did not make that start for the National League. By the way, it was Roy Halladay. But he did throw 1 2/3 scoreless. Braves and Angels open a 3-game series tonight, 6:15 starting time. The Angels coming in a game under 500 at 41-42. Tyler Anderson will get the ball for the Halos. He is 2-5 with a 4.41 ERA. The Braves 38-45. Man, that sounds ugly. And it's been even worse. Grant Holmes is 4-7 with a 3.70. He will make the start for Atlanta. The Braves were 11-15 in June. Glad to flip the calendar to July, I would imagine. It's been rough.
Yeah, it's been rough, and you got a big series coming up. A little bit of a pillow fight here, as it were, between the Angels and the Braves. One team kind of still clinging to a little bit of postseason aspirations. The Angels, meanwhile, though, they've just been kind of playing with house money. I mean, they're not that far back. They're only 11 games out of the best record in the American League. There's really hasn't been a major clear-cut team outside of Detroit, Houston, and New York. And maybe the Rays, you could throw them in there in terms of consistency this year. So the Angels kind of been a little bit of an upstart. So it will be, interesting to see who perhaps wants it more over these next couple days.
Yeah, I'm interested, and the Angels have gone kind of young. It'll be a bit of a homecoming, I guess, maybe for Christian Moore, the former Vol second baseman. I mean, a year ago he was on a national championship team. Now he is already in the majors and making a little bit of an impact. So, be interesting to see what kind of UT contingent makes it down to Atlanta for this series to cheer him on. and I guess Ben Joyce is still in their bullpen as well. Speaking of former Vols, but the Angels, like you said, they're playing decently well. Houston's kind of pulling away from everybody, though. All of a sudden, the Astros 50-34 as they head to Colorado to take on the 19-65 Rockies. 65 losses on July 1st. Man, that's rough. Colton Gordon getting the start for the Astros, 3-1 with a 3.98 earned run average. Speaking of former Vols, Chase Dolander 2-8 with a 6.06 getting the ball for Colorado. That's a 7:40 start for the Astros and Rockies there. Rockies coming in with a little momentum. Former Brave, former Brewer, Orlando Arcia doing his first team dirty with a solo home run in the 9th to force extra innings. The Rockies eventually win that game against the Brewers 4-3 in 11 innings on Sunday. So Colorado showing some signs of life anyway, but former Arlington High School standout Hunter Goodman is headed to the injured list in all likelihood. He's got a hamstring injury. It's slowing him down, leading the Colorado Rockies with 14 home runs. But already not a very good team and losing a key part as the Astros come to town are the Rockies. So,
yeah, not a great team, but the bad news is they've shown just enough of a pulse that they are not they're not as much of a doormat as they were about a month and a half ago. And you're right, they're on a heater. They've won one in a row, but I mean, they've gone 2-8 in their last 10. But about 2-3 weeks ago, there was a little stretch where they had picked up some wins. They're not to the level that the Marlins are at, as we mentioned on yesterday's show, but they're showing just enough signs of life that if you lose a game to this team, you're still going to be disappointed. But they're gamey, especially obviously playing at that ballpark.
Yeah, and anything can happen in that ballpark for sure. So you can't go in there overlooking them for sure. Had a somewhat historical event last night when the Red Sox took on visiting Cincinnati. Wilyer Abreu hit an inside the park home run into the triangle at Fenway Park, kicked back, and he was off to the races. Later hit a grand slam. Boston defeated Cincinnati 13-6. He is the 6th player in Major League history to hit an inside the park homer and a grand slam in the same game, and is the first since Roger Maris in 1958. So you're
park's
talking
got
about
some weird geometry about it, right?
It really does, man. Yeah. Run that inside the park video real quick, Mark, if you'd like, if you have it.
He's had a 7-0 lead in the first inning. A high drive way back there toward the triangle. Friedel racing back, and that one is going to be off the wall. That's going to keep on rolling on the warning track. Here comes William rounding third. He's trying to score. Looking for an inside the Parker. He dives in with an inside the park home run.
Again, like you said, the geography of that park, and he hit it in the right spot, and it kicked the wrong way, and then Friedel falls on top of everything else. So, but he didn't take anything for granted. Credit to him. And then the grand slam was just kind of to the right of that one, and he's definitely got a home run swing. Abreu does. I think that was his 16th of the season. So, big performance for him. Not a great performance for former station camp standout Chase Burns. He wasn't in for either of those home runs because he lasted just a third of an inning, gave up 7 runs, 5 earned in taking the loss in that 13-6 decision for the Reds. That was his second start. I think y'all probably mentioned last week his first one when he struck out the first 5 guys he faced. So welcome to the bigs, Chase.
Yeah, welcome to the bigs. And we mentioned his Rookie of the Year odds. You know, he was second after that dazzling performance right behind Mizorowski last week. He has fallen back down to 6th, it looks like, right now. So a little vol-on-vol action last night with Crochet doing his thing. Didn't anticipate really a massive score line, but as I've said before, when you got these two good pitchers, And you think you got the game figured out. You think it's going to be a low-scoring affair. Boston puts up 7 in the bottom of the first, and that kind of sets the stage for the rest of the game. But a good win for the Red Sox, who are still kind of the Reds. I mean, it's a quality win at this point, considering, as I mentioned on yesterday's show, the Reds have been playing some pretty good ball over the last 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah. Across baseball and elsewhere in pop culture, basically, a lot of folks refer to July 1st as Bobby Bonilla Day. I'm not sure, though, that it probably shouldn't be Dennis Gilbert Day. Gilbert was the agent for Bobby Bonilla, the longtime Major League Baseball player who retired in 2001. Bonilla received a check, or will sometime today receive a check for $1,193,248.20. Again, Bonilla retired in 2001. He'll get that check from the Mets, and he will continue to get that check for another 10 years until the age of 72 in 2035. The Mets wanted to part ways with Bonilla after 99. At that time, he had $6 million left on his contract. Fred Wilpon of the Bernie Madoff infamy instead deferred the payments of that $6 million. They negotiated to defer payments until 2011 with an 8% annual interest rate. And this is the result of that. He's going to make almost $30 million off of this deal, while Madoff died in jail for his multi-billion-dollar Ponzi scheme. So, again, happy Bobby Bonilla Day, happy Dennis Gilbert Day, however you care to look at this. But Bonilla is continuing to cash checks of $1.2 million and will, again, for another 10 years.
Love that. Love this story. This reminds me, my 2 other favorite stories of this nature is the old Spirits of St. Louis in the ABA, the Silna brothers, where they didn't opt into the NBA merger, but they said, give us the payments down the road from the NBA. And they make $800 million by the time it's all said and done. And then the other, Allen Iverson, when he turns 55 here in about 5 years in 2030, he's going to get $32 million on that trust fund payout. Reebok didn't give him the money up front. He signed that deal in 2001. So he's got how about that, Mo? You got to wait a little bit, but knowing you got $32 million coming up in a couple of years is never a bad thing.
When you talk about reasons to live, there you go. Right there. Memphis will begin a 6-game series at First Horizon Park tonight. That's a 6:35 start. Tito's Tail Wagging Tuesday, right, Wade?
Weather permitting.
And there we go. With that, our number 1 of Top 5 Tuesday is in the books here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. When we return for hour number 2, we will be joined by the Blue Raider voice, Chip Walters. And in our final segment, Wade and I will give you our most unbreakable sports records. Come back and check it all out after this. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50-plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy at zioneagles.org or 931-388-7531. You can schedule your appointment to visit their beautiful campus. Again, zioneagles.org or 931-7531 to schedule your visit today. Custom Stone Handlers supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with Riverstone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe the measure of any person or company is how you treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStoneHandlers.com.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
Welcome into hour number 2 of Top 5 Tuesday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. That's Wade Neely. I'm Maurice Patton. Joining us now is the Blue Raider voice, the pride of the dimple, TSSAA Hall of Fame 2025 inductee, Chip Walters. Good afternoon, sir.
How are you? How's everybody?
What's up, Chip? Happy Canada Day to you, my friend.
Well, and happy Bobby Bonilla Day to you.
We've got them both covered this afternoon now.
That's right. For those who celebrate, right?
Yes.
For those who celebrate, and Bobby Bonilla certainly does. Absolutely.
No question.
We were debating whether it should be Bobby Bonilla Day, though, or Dennis Gilbert Day. He's the agent.
Well, true, but I wonder if Dennis Gilbert gets his slice.
3%.
I mean, that's not bad for work you did 20 years ago.
No, it's not. It's not. I guess they call those residuals, right? So,
Something like that. Yeah.
That's good stuff. Happy Delaware and Missouri State Day.
Correct. Conference USA grew by 2 members today, which it has already been an interesting week in the group of 5, and it'll be interesting to see how much more interesting it gets, or if things have now, everything's happened that's going to happen until a year from now. But as far as Conference USA is concerned, Delaware is a brand new member. Within 20 years, Mo, how old is the University of Delaware? Within 20.
1812.
No, it's not that old. I think it's less than 100 for sure. I don't think it's that old at all, actually. But I could be wrong. How old is it?
The University of Delaware, and I want to make sure I get this right, was founded in 1743.
Oh, goodness.
So
I was way wrong.
Yeah, 282 years old.
It's almost 300 years old.
Correct. And had to be one of the first colleges, I mean, probably right after William and Mary, to be founded. But they are the land grant university of the state of Delaware. They come in and have a pretty rich tradition in 1AA football, and they won 8 or 9 games a year ago. And back in the day when we were in school, you would look at the 1AA rankings when they came out every week, and there would be some sort of combination of Eastern Kentucky, Georgia Southern, Delaware, Middle Tennessee, Louisiana Tech, Montana. And, in the 70s, Tubby Raymond put them on the map for running the wing T. And they may have actually had the helmets, the Wolverine kind of helmets before Michigan did. But the Blue Hens come in with, they have a lot of financial resources at their disposal. Then you look at the other new member being Missouri State, who they were in the 1AA playoffs a year ago. And, they had kind of floundered in football for a few years. But Petrino came in there, got them flying in the right direction, and the Bears, they did some upgrades on their football facility. Now they have, outside of Auburn and Ole Miss, maybe the nicest basketball arena I've ever been in.
Wow.
Very, very nice. And they play baseball in a facility they share with a Midwest League Cardinals Class A ball club. So it's very, very nice. So they're also, Missouri State, they've made the Final Four in women's basketball. They've made a lot of trips to the NCAA in men's basketball. They've made the College World Series in baseball. So they're going to be a good member coming in. And in these days, we're seeing, it's funny, the Power Five folks used to always look down their nose at people who were a level below until the transfer portal came along and they started grabbing players from, Division II. When a Power Five, brags about, hey, we got that guy from Norfolk State, so it's all kind of become a wash a little bit. But Middle will play in football. Will play both new members this year. They'll play both. They'll play Missouri State at home, and will play Delaware on the road. And I think that's on back-to-back Wednesday nights during the month of October, when Conference USA has their midweek schedule. So looking forward, you think about Delaware, that's really kind of an easy trip. You fly to Philly and you're about 30, 40 minutes away. It's about as far out of Philadelphia as Murfreesboro is out of Nashville. Now, Missouri State, is over close to Branson and, not far from Fayetteville, Arkansas. It is not easy to get to, and we've had to travel over there for basketball and baseball a few times over the last 15, 20 years. So, that's one of the things we'll know soon is how they'll set up travel partners and, who will Missouri State be with, who will, logically you would kind of think Delaware and Liberty and Missouri State tied up with Louisiana Tech, but might not be that. So we'll have to just wait and see. But for at least 12 months, it looks like the Conference USA will be 12 members. And then a year from today, UTEP will leave to go to the Mountain West, which will be a good fit for them. And who knows what other pieces may be flying by then.
Well, have we heard
real quick, and at one point, CUSA was down to 5 members. Is that right? I mean, like 10, 15 years ago?
No, it wasn't that long ago. Could have been. It very well could have been. You had, when you had Memphis and Cincinnati and UCF leave, Louisville was a member of Conference USA at one point, I think. But so it has gone through a metamorphosis. What was it, about 4 or 5 years ago when you had FAU, Charlotte, Rice, North Texas, and UTSA and UAB. So those 6 rather, left to go to the American. So there was where there was probably the biggest changeover in membership, and it got down to 8 or 9. But now it has bounced back to about 12. And, and I think probably before, there's rumors that Louisiana Tech may be leaving to fill a void in the Sun Belt that is left by Texas State, moving to the Pac, whatever they are today. And, but there's also been whispers about East Carolina, Middle, Western Kentucky. I haven't heard anything that, mostly what I've heard is the Louisiana Tech was the strongest rumor, not necessarily Middle or Western, because there's still some old grudges from when Middle left, and Middle and Western left together. And then I saw, here on social media the other day, somebody threw it out, some person who is a Mid-American Conference person throwing it out there, said, "Hey, Liberty, Western, and Middle, find one more and come make us a 16-team league." But I'm not sure that there's a lot of interest in going north for all sports. So anyway, it's just the ever-changing landscape, and I don't know. It doesn't get It doesn't get me as anxious anymore as it did in the past. So kind of, I guess maybe I'm getting a little older, and whatever happens is going to happen.
Yeah, it just kind of feels like it's just Tuesday whenever you hear that kind of thing nowadays. Right. But yeah, so La Tech likely going to the Sun Belt.
It depends on who you ask. But the thing was, what a lot of said was that they were going to have to make that announcement prior to today for that to happen a year from now. I don't know whether that's a rule or not, or whether they could make that announcement next week or a month from now or whatever, and still make a move on July 1st. I was told by a fairly well-placed source that Conference USA probably would not lose anybody. So who knows? Still mainly conjecture right now.
Well, I'm looking at an article right now that says that La Tech has basically resisted being in the same conference with fellow in-state programs. We used to call it Louisiana Lafayette. Now they're just Louisiana, apparently.
And ULM.
Right, Louisiana Monroe, or ULA and ULA Mo, as a friend of mine and I refer to him from time to time. So, yeah, getting all three of them. I mean, it would, on one hand, it would seem to make sense for all three of them. But on the other hand, I mean, if there's bad blood there, sort of like there's bad blood between the Sun Belt and Middle and Western, then maybe that isn't as cut and dried as some would have you believe.
A little bit of the backstory there is I'm not sure that necessarily that Tech has an issue with Louisiana's Ragin' Cajuns. It's more, I think, of the they have a big brother, little brother complex with ULM over the years, because at one point ULM was, if I'm correct here, in about probably up until about 1950 or 60, somewhere along the way, and I'm just spitballing, that they were a junior college before going to the 4-year status, and there has always been a little bit of that going on between those two, although being 40 miles apart at the most. At the most. Yeah, at the very most. That in this age where you're trying to find ways to save money on travel and all that kind of stuff, and you've got Stanford playing Rutgers and all kinds of crazy mess like that when you have the ability to add to your league, and it's only just a few miles down the road, I don't know why doesn't Conference USA turn around and try to grab Monroe back? I don't know. If what's good for the goose might be good for the gander. I don't know.
There you go. Chip, you all had the Blue Raider Blitz last week. How was it?
It was successful and well attended. We started out in Murfreesboro on Monday. Let's see if I can get my schedule right. Tuesday night, we were at Bridgestone Arena. Had a very large media. Mark Owens did a really good job of getting the local media out got the TVs out there, a couple of radio stations, got some writers out as well, and that was a good stop. Wednesday we were in Tullahoma during the day and Shelbyville that evening. Had a really nice crowd at both of those, and then we were in Smyrna on Thursday, and we were in an area that was twice as large. The space was about twice as large as where we were last year, and we had a full house there. So the coaches were terrific. We had Derek Mason was at every stop. Nick McDevitt was at every stop. Coach Insel was at 3 of the 5. Jerry Myers was at several, and many of the other coaches came to the ones that they could, because they're in the height of, especially like golf, tennis, volleyball. They're right in the midst of travel season and going to recruit players all over, wherever. So they all did a really nice job of taking time out of their schedule to be there and support those events. And it was funny, the one of the biggest comments I got last week after the week was over, at every stop where you had Coach Mason and Coach Insel and Coach McDevitt all together, people were saying, man, those guys really seem like they get along and have a good time with each other. And because they're picking at each other, and we do these 3-person panel discussions and all that. And people seem to really enjoy that. But all in all, it was really good. And now we're, the countdown is what, I guess, 59 days or something like that from our kickoff. It's 53 or 52 days from the week 0. And so we're kind of looking right down at it now.
I could have done without you putting a number on that, but there we go. Chip Walters, the Blue Raider voice, joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, as he typically does on Tuesdays. Chip, this time of year, with the blitz being out of the way and that kind of thing, I'm a little surprised that you are in Murfreesboro.
Well, that will not be the case in about 13 days.
Oh,
there we go.
So,
okay.
Just following. I'm just following y'all's lead. I just want you to understand that.
What's fair is fair, I guess.
That's right.
What's fair is fair. Absolutely.
All right, Chip.
Speaking of Conference USA, they handed out some post-academic year awards here recently, and some MTSU athletes were the happy recipients thereof.
That's right. Yeah. The Conference USA gives a Scholar Athlete Award for each of the 17 sports that are out there. And, well, actually more than that in the conference. Middle sponsors 17, but Conference USA also has bowling and diving and swimming and things that Middle does not sponsor at the moment. But Jalen Gregory, who a key member of the Lady Raider basketball team the last 4 years, she was named the Women's Basketball Conference USA Scholar Athlete. And a young man who I just kind of got to know a little bit more this year, Kareem Alamin, who is on the men's tennis team, he was named the Men's Tennis Scholar Athlete Award recipient. He has a 3.932 GPA with his major in psychology and minors in neuroscience and entrepreneurship. So swallow that and chew it up. And Jalen Gregory, she has a 3.5 GPA, and she graduated with a Bachelor of Science in Psychology with minors in biology and also athletic coaching. Sounds like to me she may be a high school biology teacher here before very long at all. So, which I can only imagine what a terrific high school coach that she's going to make in the very not too distant future.
Absolutely. Also, men's tennis and men's golf were honored by the conference.
Yep, and these numbers, they'll kind of make you sick too. When this is strictly by the numbers, and that is which schools overall GPA of that team was the best in the league. So in this case, men's tennis, their team posted a 3.606 team GPA. So not only have they won 6 consecutive league championships, they have the highest GPA in the conference. And then the men's golf team, besides having a good year, also in the classroom, a 3.541 for their entire roster. That is their team GPA. So, hats off to them and what they do, because number one, they've obviously learned good lessons in time management and have great academic support. And also it obviously means something to each of those individuals to come up and be part of the collective good there.
Chip, while we're talking that, just this might be deep in the weeds, but I'm curious. Department wide, do we ever tout like a cumulative GPA? I know at some smaller schools that's kind of a thing that is a little more trackable and sometimes gets bandied about. You got any collective number maybe?
Well, let me see here. Normally that comes, it's more talked about as far as the APR numbers. And that's where that normally gets talked about. And middle has got like a 17-year run of having an APR number above what, 940, 970, whatever. They have been in terrific academic shape for a long period of time. And I'm not able to look that up right now, but we had that number comes out sometime around April or early May. And so I'm trying to see if I can do a quick search here and see if I pull that up, but that's normally when they release academic numbers for the entire program, it comes up as far as APR numbers and graduation rates and things like that.
Makes sense, and I know that's a deep cut, so to speak, but thought I'd at least pick your brain a little bit there.
Yeah, so we just don't want them to go back and mistakenly add my GPA in from low those many years ago.
Keep the number high if at all possible. Yes,
that's right. That's right.
Well, those are transcripts that are on paper, so hopefully they don't have access to those any longer, Chip.
Yeah, maybe they didn't. Maybe they didn't scan those in anytime.
Exactly. Chip, Blue Bloods in the round was so good the first time, they're going to do it again, huh?
They are. It was very well received, and the first round of it was at the Humble Baron at Uncle Nearest, which is an absolute fantastic venue. This time it's going to come to the Music City, to 3rd and Lindsley, which I've seen some pretty doggone good bands in that place. That's going to be July 30th, and it will be at 7:00, 3rd and Lindsley. Tom Douglas and Lori McKenna, they will have a family-friendly show. They're all songwriters. Their children, who are Claire Douglas and Chris McKenna, will be there to be part of it. And there's a long list of in particular country music hits that group has penned over the years. I'm not going to give you all the songs, but here are the hits, here are the bands or the artists that group I told you about has written hit songs for. Lady A, Miranda Lambert, Martina McBride, Tim McGraw, George Strait, John Michael Montgomery, Colin Ray, Phil Vassar, Leanne Womack, Brett Eldridge, Carrie Underwood, Keith Urban, Eric Church, Kane Brown. So that's it's like the 27 Yankees right there.
Hey, you mentioned Brett Eldridge. That was a neighbor of mine at Campus Crossings back in the day, back when he moonlighted as an MTSU student, Chip.
Oh, really? So Brett Eldridge he was across the breezeway from you?
Across the breezeway. We went to a party one week, and I met him, and I was like, man, this Brett guy's pretty cool. And then 2 weeks later, I said, "There's Brett," and they said he dropped out. He's making country music now. I said, "Good choice."
Well, I mean, there've been a few of those that their career took off quickly, and some have back and finished. Others have just they've gone just gone with it. You think about Chris Young has been such a big part. The young lady who's the lead singer for Lady A, Vince Gill's daughter, Jenny. She's doing a lot of video work these days, and had her own radio show on the student station on campus. So there's a lot of those. You never know who you might be rubbing elbows with in the grill getting a Raider burger with cheese, and and next thing you know, they're out there making the big time.
Took me way back with that Raider burger with cheese at well, yeah. Chip Walters, the Blue Raider voice, joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. It's a little bit off, but there's a ribbon cutting planned on campus at the end of this month, right?
Well, it's a day sooner than the Blue Bloods in the round. It'll be July 30th. Blue Bloods in the round will be July 31st, but on July 30th, everyone is invited. In particular, those who have made contributions to the Build Blue campaign, which is well over in private money, well over $20 million that has come in, and this $66 million building, which is 85,000 square feet, will be opened up officially. They're doing a lot of the landscape work right now. There's all the football lockers are in. They're moving athletic training equipment in, furniture going in. So they're going to meet that date of July 30th, and that was a big thing for Chris Massaro. He didn't want football to have to make a move. And while we're looking at it right there, I want to tell you a couple of things about in. The big windows at the top, that is the SRM Concrete Club. So on game days, if you have seats in the SRM Concrete Club, you can go in there, and inside the SRM Concrete Club will be the Uncle Nearest Sports, which will be a full service beverage location inside that area, and there will also be buffet lines for food. Now, the open areas you see on either end, those will seat about 40, and they're kind of open air areas, which those areas also have access to the SRM Concrete Club. One of those has already been the naming rights has already been sold, and I think the other one is fairly close. Now, that area, like we said, on game day, that's going to be a very key, busy hospitality area for fans who have bought this premium seating package. During a lot of the year, that's going to be an area. It's going to be big enough where like team meals can be had and can be reconfigured, where the whole football team can come up and have a meal. I can foresee basketball teams having their pregame meal inside there prior to home basketball games. Now, as you look at that photo, see along the bottom, all those windows across the bottom, and then there's a door about just past halfway down. Well, those are the coaches' offices. So every position coach, coordinator, and head coach will have a view of the football field from their office. And Derek Mason's office will be right in the middle. The coordinators will be on either end. And let's say on that left end that's going to be Bodie Reeder, the offensive coordinator. Well, between him and Derek Mason will be all the other offensive position coaches. Then on the other end, between Derek Mason and Brian Stewart's office, will be all of the defensive position coaches. And now, then in behind all that, you have all the breakout rooms, which Joe Campbell put a picture of the running back room up on his Facebook page. That all the graphics are up in those, and Joe's picture is one of several great running backs that's on the wall in the running back room. But each one of those rooms, you've got the position rooms, then you'll have like the full offense and defense room, and then you'll have the 160 seat theater that will be big enough to house the entire football team. And I was told that it has the theater seating, and with the big boy seats on all of the 150 seats that will accommodate linemen comfortably. And I asked if they had any extras, if they could put those in the home radio booth, that would be appreciated. Any leftovers, we'll take what we can get.
There you go. What use will the other athletic programs besides football be able to get out of this structure? Because I saw something on Facebook where a parent of a non-football player was mentioning the fact that this was only for football, and I knew that not to be accurate. But
that was
what will the other teams, the other programs get out of this building?
Okay, let's if you break down the building, it's 3 stories. We talked about the top floor being hospitality, recruiting, all that kind of stuff, and all teams will have access to that, but it'll come in to football. Second floor will be it's all football. The bottom floor, every student athlete from every sport will have access to the weight room and strength and conditioning, which it's my understanding. You remember the old weight room before they tore it down? That was a pretty good sized building or room. This weight room is 4 times as large as that old weight room. So they'll be able to have more student athletes in there, but strength and conditioning, athletic training, sports medicine, nutrition, recovery, red light therapy, all of that will be available for all student athletes, and that'll be on the main floor. Also on the main floor, you'll have the football locker room and football equipment. So all of that'll be going on there. And but yes, all 17 sports will have access to the Denise and Steve Smith Student Athlete Performance Center.
And to the point that you made previously in discussing this building, one of the bigger dominoes is the area that it's going to open up inside the Murphy Center for other sports to kind of spread out a little bit, particularly men's and women's basketball.
Well, women's basketball, they've had a great situation on that end of Murphy Center. Men's basketball is going to be able to move into what is currently the current athletic training room and part of the football locker room. So they'll be able to expand out. And also you think about all those offices up on the office level of Murphy Center, where all the football coaches have been for, since 1972, I guess.
Yeah, since it opened.
Since it opened. So all of that space is going to get to be reimagined for, people like marketing, our Blue Raider, the Van Wagner crew, others like that who have been cramped and, had to have office space upstairs in the Hall of Fame or in the football press box. It helps kind of centralize all of the administrative duties that go on in athletics. And that'll be one of the next things to happen. Now, one of the things that Chris Massaro talked about at all of these stops on the Blue Raider Blitz was, now that this building is complete, the state budget has about $79 million in it for renovation of Murphy Center. And that will start probably within a year. And that will, there's a lot of things that you won't actually see, like a lot of internal things like, all the HVAC ductwork to be replaced and, piping and things like that that's 50 years old. Some of that, that's some expensive things that are happening, but you'll also see some major stuff. The 1.5 steps are going to go away outside, and there will be a brand new main entrance into Murphy Center that will be much more like walking into Bridgestone Arena, where you walk in at street level into a big atrium that will have tickets, Blue Raider Athletic Association, team shop, all of that, like on the main entrance. And then you'll have escalators and elevators going up to the track level to get you into the seating area. So it's going to be a big project that will, like I said, will probably start within a year. Once they, the drawings are being done now and ideas are being talked about and how all that's going to play out. But, the first next big step will be to officially cut the ribbon and get this building open and get fall camp started for football, volleyball, and soccer, and get what has been a dream for a long time to make it a reality and get it to put into use right around the 1st of August, a month from today, basically.
Yeah, show back up on campus, and it's a shiny new toy for everybody.
That's
all
right.
Our student athletes, right?
That's right. And you know what's funny is that the turf, we've talked about it on here. On a normal year, putting in new turf would be a big topic of conversation, and it's kind of had to take a little bit of a back seat. But it's gorgeous, and between the turf and how this new student athlete performance center, the look that it gives the inside of Floyd Stadium, it's really going to have a different look about it. New sound system went in a year ago. The video board went in a year ago, brand new football video board. They've added 170 feet of ribbon boards. So it's going to have a really nice look to it come season opener against Austin Peay on August 30th.
Chip Walters, the Blue Raider voice, joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, as he typically does on Tuesdays.
Unless I don't.
Unless you don't. We appreciate it. Look forward to seeing you next Tuesday.
That's right.
Have a great 4th.
And probably, same to you guys, and make sure to tell Terry to keep backing it up. Back it up, Terry.
Yeah,
and,
let's go. Hey, come back with all your appendages next week, Chip.
That's right.
Yes, absolutely.
Come back with all the digits, and probably 2 weeks from today, I probably will not be here on that day.
Oh, so that will be one that, except when you're not, right?
Correct.
Okay.
There we go. Hey, we'll talk about that later. We appreciate you. We'll talk.
All right. Thanks, guys. Have a good weekend.
You,
Bye.
See ya.
Let's take a break here on Main Street Sports today. We'll come back. We'll jump in the grab bag. Stick around.
Deep in a forest at Nashville Zoo, new creatures here for you to view. Phantoms graced in black and white swing high in trees of dappled light. In rocky crags, tall and steep, small antelopes with nimble feet. A wise old man with beard of white, a sentry perched on stony height. Amidst it all, a hunter lies, with coat of gold and steely eyes. A new adventure just for you. Leopard Forest at Nashville Zoo. Open now.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50-plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily, as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
Tuesday continues here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. That's Wade Neely. I'm Maurice Patton. In our final segment, we will be giving you our most unbreakable sports records. But right now, we're getting into the grab bag. As we mentioned during the rundown, Indiana Fever will travel to Minnesota, taking on the Western Conference champion Lynx with the Commissioner's Cup on the line tonight. That's a 7 o'clock tip. You can see it on Amazon Prime. And it's questionable whether or not second-year guard Caitlin Clark will be available for the Fever as they go on the road here. Apparently, that groin injury that had her out has continued to be an issue. She's been missed her last 2 games, I think. Knocking off Minnesota was going to be a tough task under any circumstances, but not having her certainly does not help the Fever.
No, Minnesota's favored by about 11 in this game tonight. So if Indiana wins, it would be a big shock, it seems like. Hopefully a fun game. They're playing for a decent amount of change. The winning player is going to get about $30,000. Your MVP is going to get an extra $5,000 bonus tonight. That's just $10,000 for the losing team. And then, even more importantly, perhaps, depending on your worldview, an additional $120K is going to be paid out in cryptocurrency, in Bitcoin, perhaps. So a chance to make even some more loot for these winners tonight. But I don't like the Fever's chances based on what you just said and kind of what Vegas gives us a peek for tonight.
I want that bag, Lynx point guard Courtney Williams said. Straight up, call a spade a spade. We're going to get that money.
Absolutely.
I'm not mad at her. I mean, if there's money on the line, I might as well win it, right? So, yeah.
For what it's worth, the NBA in-season tournament, you get $500,000 per player. So we still got a ways to go in that, but $30K is nothing to sneeze at.
Not at all.
Not sure how the taxing works on that. Don't know if Minnesota is more favorable for a location there, but we'll see. But best of luck to everybody tonight.
It beats a sharp stick in the eye. 30,000 does. So, good luck to both teams. We mentioned yesterday when we had Megan L. Hall on talking WNBA, Caitlin Clark and Aphesia Collier are your captains for the All-Star game. The starters have been announced. You've got a pool of guards that they will pick from that will include Paige Beckers, Alicia Gray, Sabrina Ionescu, and Caitlin are your 4 starters at the guard positions. And since Caitlin's picking, she's not really in the mix to be picked. Up front, in addition to Nafisa, you've got Aaliyah Boston from the Fever. You've got Nika Agwumike from Seattle. Satu Sabali of the Phoenix Mercury. Brianna Stewie from the Liberty. Aja Wilson from the Aces. Imagine that. So next up are the reserves, and they will be announced Sunday, apparently. Once the pool in its entirety, the starters and the reserves are announced, Clark and Collier will draft, and that will take place a week from today. The game is July 19th in Indianapolis. Should be a lot of fun. A lot of conjecture, or a lot of upset folks. One in particular, because the voting for the WNBA All-Star Game is broken up between fans, media, and players. As again we discussed with Megan L. Hall when we had her on yesterday. Well, among the players, Caitlin Clark was ranked 9th among WNBA guards and was 2nd among Indiana Fever guards behind Kelsey Mitchell. So she received more than 1.2 million votes in the fan balloting, but again, 9th in player voting among guards, and Dick Vitale, among others. Absolutely pure jealousy that WNBA players voted Caitlin Clark the 9th best guard. Someday they will realize what she has done for all of the players in the WNBA. Chartered planes, increase in salaries, sold out crowds, improved TV ratings. Now, what any of that has to do with her play on the floor, I have no idea. But there you go.
Dickie V, speaking his mind, baby.
Yeah, he's got a right, and he's got a Twitter account, so he can do that. But I don't know. And I mean, I like to watch the WNBA when I get the opportunity to do so. I think it's fantastic, the exposure that they're getting and that kind of thing. But I could not tell you whether Caitlin Clark is the best guard in the WNBA or the 10th best. I don't know. I would defer to those who cover it on a regular basis. But, if you told me she was the 9th best guard in the league, I wouldn't necessarily disagree with that.
I would think she's higher. I would think she's higher on that list, but I would also say, man, not bad for a second-year player at this point. So, whoever those are that are a little older, get ready because you might get lapped at some point. But yeah, I'm like you. I don't know that I could give you a full. I mean, I could give you a list, but it's not going to be any sort of. I mean, we're just barbershop talking here anyway at this point. But
right,
I could. When I see her at 9th. It catches me off guard. That's all I'll say about that. I don't know where she fits on that pecking order. I haven't rounded out my guards in the WNBA list lately.
Right.
I hadn't gone full Bill Simmons mode and made my top 100 lately, but it did catch me off guard a little bit.
I would be interested to see who the 8 guards ahead of her were, just to get a feel for it, and maybe the next couple. Speaking of the WNBA, Kelsey Plum's ex-husband, Darren Waller, is apparently headed back to the NFL. Coming out of retirement, he had retired from the Giants. He has agreed to terms with Miami, who has an opening at tight end after trading Jonnu Smith and Jalen Ramsey to Pittsburgh yesterday. So to get his rights, Miami sent a 2026 sixth-round pick and a conditional 7th-round pick in 2027 for the rights to sign Waller, who has signed a 1-year, $5 million deal with the Dolphins. Don't know if they're expecting the same dude who was at Vegas or the guy who came from the Giants, but, you feel like he can be somewhat impactful still. He'll be 33 in September.
Yeah, and at least give you a chance to see what some of your other talent is, perhaps there. And I'm a big Waller fan just from his battles with substance abuse and being able to overcome that. But also, 2 things can be true at once. Because yes, we should celebrate that. But he did also have one of the biggest fumbles of all time when he lost Miss Plum. So 2 things can be true at once. There. Best of luck in Miami.
That is a huge fumble, no doubt. Wimbledon continues, and we talked about upsets yesterday. There was another one today. Apparently, Coco Gauff is packing her bags. I saw a TikTok that she and Sabalenka did prior to. I don't know if that created some bad juju or what. They were the top 2 seeds in the tournament, and again, one of them's gone.
Tough break, yeah. Lost the first set 7-6, and then I didn't watch any of this match today, but she just got waxed in the second by an unranked player, and woof, 7-6, 6-1. Had high hopes for Coco, but Bill Rill told us last week again, as this heat wave over there, it's going to favor certain players on random days. The best overall players might be at a small disadvantage if you run into somebody that's playing hot, and man, tough break for Coco. The good news is she's wealthy. She's done well for herself. She's got that much more time now to spend at the Ralph Lauren shop there over at the Grass and Lawn Club.
Jessica Pegula also eliminated, the number 3 seed. So it's kind of dangerous being a top seed over there, it sounds like.
Yeah, and Pegula, if I'm not mistaken, she had just won a tournament in Germany either last week or 2 weeks ago. If I remember correctly, got dumped. Tough day for the top 2 American hopefuls in terms of seeding, at least 6-2, 6-3. Happy trails, I suppose. But man, early exits over there. Maybe the Heat. One of the matches I was watching earlier, a German player, she had to retire in the second set. A little bit of an injury, but you wonder. Again, the Heat is going to play a big factor in this.
Yeah. Kind of feels like it kind of clears the path for Sabalenka, though, right? Theoretically?
I mean, yeah. If we're playing this in a vacuum, for sure. But I mean, I'm scrolling through here. We've seen. I'm looking at the 25th players out, the 27th players out, 26. And I mean, we're kind of talking at some high levels here. But yeah, I'm not going to be surprised if this turns into kind of Daytona here, and it's survival of the fittest, and just whoever stays the healthiest and who can maintain their mental edge over this fortnight to kind of survives.
Mark, do we need to take a break? It's Mark.
Nah, it's good.
No?
Hey,
all right, cool.
Hey, real quick, final comment on that. They had to pause the match yesterday, but I told you guys that American men were struggling, and Taylor Fritz, our best hopeful, he was down 2 sets, but after the match got suspended, he comes back and rallies in 5 to win it. So Americans still hanging around on the men's side at least. And my boy Ben Shelton, the former Florida Gator, got a nice win today.
There we go. We are going to go ahead and roll into our final segment, Top 5 Tuesday, as Wade and I give you the top 5 in some random category from week to week. This week, it is most unbreakable sports records. Plenty of meat on the bone, as someone likes to say. Wade, we'll start with you.
Man, well, if we're going to talk sports records, there's one guy that has virtually every record seemingly in basketball history. And you got to go back a ways. But Wilt Chamberlain, but it's a little bit different record than you might think. What if I told you that Wilt Chamberlain holds the career record for minutes played on average? And in one particular season, Wilt the Stilt averaged 50.4 minutes per game. And you might be wondering, how's that possible? They had 8 games and went to overtime. He only sat 8 minutes the entire season. So to put that into context, we talk about Tibbs. We talk about how he grinds his players into dust. Josh Hart led the NBA in minutes played this year for the Knicks at 37.6. Wilt the Stilt averaging over 50. He was playing a full game and then some. Sat 8 minutes all year. That will never be broken.
No.
Unless they extend the game in some capacity, which obviously seems unlikely.
Yeah, I don't think the Players Association would ever go for that. So, yeah, you feel like that's a number that is going to be there. I will warn you, my list may be a little baseball heavy, but we're going to start right here. One manager, 162 early showers. Bobby Cox, career, thrown out of an entire season worth of games. You know, with replay and that kind of thing, I don't think anybody ever gets close to that. So that's going to be my most unbreakable record. 162 tosses. Nah.
Yeah, you would be fired. You'd be fired before you even had a chance to sniff that record.
You'd either be fired or you would be fined out of the league. So yeah, one of those.
Yeah.
Number 2, Wade.
Number 2 for me, yeah, I'll go. I'll hold your hand and walk down the baseball aisle a little bit here, just because there's so many fun, obscure ones. But go way back in the annals of time. Old Hoss Radburn wins 60 games in a season. To put that into context, no player since 1900 has won more than 40, and that happened twice in like 1908 and 1911. So I feel pretty confident that Old Hoss back in the day, his 60 wins is pretty safe.
Yeah, I think it is. Denver may not win. I mean, Colorado may not win 60 games as a team. So yeah, I think 60 wins by one pitcher is going to be in pretty good shape.
He started 73 games that year and completed all of them.
I'm going to see your Old Hoss Radbourne, and I'm going to raise you the guy that they named the top pitching award for, Cy Young. 749 career complete games. You know, it's an event whenever anybody throws a complete game, singular, in this day and time. Cy Young went the distance 749 times over his career. That's my number 2. Number 3, sir?
Number 3 for me, man. We had a lot of fanfare about what Ovechkin did on the ice this year and breaking the single career goals record. But Wayne Gretzky has the points record in the NHL on lock forever and forever and ever. 2,857 career points. If you took away his goals, he would still hold the points record. He had 1,963 assists alone. Wayne Gretzky's points record, no matter who comes along. Ovechkin can assist himself. That's about the only shot you ever got to see in this record broke. The great one stands alone.
That's about like Hank Aaron. If you took all 755 of his career home runs, he'd still have more than 3,000 hits.
Same concept. Yep.
Yeah, that's amazing. I had this on my list, but once producer Mark signed off on it, Richard Petty has 200 NASCAR victories. Nobody ever touches that. We'll get Heather's input on that tomorrow when we have her on. But yeah, give me and Mark Richard Petty with his 200 career NASCAR wins at number 3. Number 4?
Number 4 for me, Cal Ripken, 2,632 consecutive games played. Sometimes we don't see a guy complete 10 games in a row, let alone 2,632. Seminal moment of everybody's childhood growing up, and the Ironman stands alone as well.
Absolutely. I'm always interested at the end of the year to see who's played in 162, and the list is really a short one. Connecticut won back-to-back men's basketball national championships a couple of years ago. No one has ever won more than 2 straight except UCLA, which won 7 from 1967 to 1973. Give me John Wooden's Bruins at number 4. Number 5, Wade.
Number 5, I'm staying in women's sports as well. The fabulous Moolah, ladies and gentlemen. No one will ever touch her WWF title record of 10,170 days as the women's champ. She began that reign in September of 56. She didn't relinquish the belt until July of 84. The fabulous Moolah, the female. Bruno Sammartino can't even sniff his men's title reign of the fabulous Moolah. Unbreakable.
That's amazing. What'd you say from 56 to 84?
Yeah, just a casual, 10,170 days.
27 years as champion.
Very problematic out of the
dominant.
ring, but in the ring, you can't beat that record. That was the fabulous
She was pretty
Moolah.
problematic in the ring too, huh? At number 5, let me have, and there's some really good ones here. I'll tell you what, I cannot not take Ricky Henderson's 1,406 career steals. I don't know that anybody will ever steal 1,000 bases again, let alone 1,400. Give me the best leadoff hitter in the history of the game and his 1,406 career stolen bases at number 5. That is our top 5 most unbreakable sports records, and there's still plenty more of them out there, but that's our top 5. That is Top 5 Tuesday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Y'all be sure and come back and visit with us tomorrow at 2 o'clock. We'll be here. Hope to see you as well. Have a great day.